Joining us now from Asbury Park, New Jersey is independent pollster and political analyst Scott Rasmussen. He is the founder and president of Rasmussen Reports. And Scott, welcome back to Newsmax TV.
It's great to be with you today.
It was Rick Perry's first debate, and the first debate for all the candidates with Perry as the front runner. Did Perry make the pitch and secure his place as the front runner?
You know, I think it was a little bit rockier than he might have liked. Overall, Rick Perry came in with very high expectations because he was the front runner. And as he said at one point during the debate, he felt like a piñata because everybody was gunning for him. But having said that, I think he did fairly well overall. Probably needs to work on some of his answers along the way.
Is Rick Perry the only candidate right now?
No, Rick Perry is in the very beginning of the effort to determine if he's even still the front runner. You know, we polled in Iowa a week ago and found that only 27%, 1 out of 4 Iowa caucus goers, have made up their mind and are certain of who they're going to vote for. This is a very fluid field. There's another 4 debates coming up in the next several weeks. If Rick Perry does well in those 4 debates, he may emerge as the front runner still, and if he does that, he'll be very difficult to beat. On the other hand, it's quite possible we'll see the race tighten a bit as the debates unfold.
Now, Rick Perry talked tough on Social Security last night, referring to the program as a Ponzi scheme. Mitt Romney responded by saying it's unfair for Rick Perry to talk like that. Do you think that Social Security is the chink in Perry's armor, and how do you see the other candidates responding to this in the days and perhaps weeks ahead?
You know, that question, that whole discussion showed a little bit of how out of touch almost all the candidates are with voters on the issue of Social Security. We polled a year ago and found that just 27% think that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, 36% said it's not, and a plurality, 37% said we don't know, and a lot of people don't even have a sense of the terminology or the debate. What Americans do know is there are concerns about Social Security. There are concerns about its financing. There are some people who are offended and concerned about its constitutionality, but most also see it as a program that has reduced poverty among the elderly, and they want to see something that will replace it that can provide that same kind of assurance. Rick Perry is going to have to find a way to turn the anger that he feels about the system into a positive solution. The other candidates are going to have to do the same. And right now, it is a potential chink in the armor of Rick Perry.
We saw last night Mitt Romney and Rick Perry really go after each other. Romney is polling pretty well with moderates. Can he use the support of moderates to pull a come-from-behind win to secure the nomination?
You know, Mitt Romney's in an awkward position right now. He is generally well-liked. People have some respect for his private sector experience. They like a lot of things about him. But they're not sold on him. Republican voters aren't sold on him as the nominee. Rick Perry is the new kid in town, and he's got all the excitement and all the charisma and everything else. Mitt Romney's best path to the nomination is to wait a little bit and see if Rick Perry falters. If he does, Romney is there to pick up the pieces. If he doesn't, he's going to have to get even more aggressive, and it won't be the support of the moderates that put Romney over the top. The Republican Party, number one, is dominated by conservatives, and number two, a large share of conservatives don't even consider themselves Republicans. Republicans are going to have to reach out to those other conservatives if they want to win the White House.
An unscientific poll by MSNBC shows that viewers feel that Ron Paul won the debate overwhelmingly. Do you think that he could be the sleeper of the campaign?
Ron Paul draws a tremendously passionate base of support, consistently in the high single digits, occasionally in the low double digits in our polling. Among Republicans, only 43% have a favorable opinion, 45% have an unfavorable opinion. But the thing about Ron Paul that people ignore or tend to forget is that his appeal is not just to the right wing that wants to cut back on all kinds of spending, but also to the anti-war left. In fact, in 2008, when we matched him up as a potential third-party alternative, he got more support from Democrats than from Republicans. It's going to be very difficult for Ron Paul to translate that into a path to the Republican nomination.
Now, how did Minnesota Representative Michele Bachmann do in your view? Her campaign hasn't gained much traction since the Iowa straw poll victory last month. Do you think that she was able to break through last night or no?
Not last night in a single night. Journalists and pundits always want to have one big knockout punch. They want the there you go again line, or I'm not going to let my opponent's youth and inexperience, I'm not going to use that against him in the campaign. That's not the way these things really work. As I said earlier, there are several debates coming up. Michele Bachmann seemed to be totally invisible for much of the debate, then had a bit stronger finish. Again, if Rick Perry maintains his lead, it's going to be hard for her to gain traction. If the race tightens, she will have a better opportunity to present her views.
How do you think Jon Huntsman did last night? And Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum, and Herman Cain, they're all languishing in the polls. Were they all able to prove that they were relevant last night?
Relevant, I guess, in terms of influencing the discussion a little bit, perhaps, but it's very difficult to see any credible path for Huntsman, Gingrich, or Santorum to the nomination.
Well, President Obama is scheduled to make his jobs speech before Congress. Based on your polling, Scott, is there anything that the president can say right now that will appease voters on the jobs issue?
There's nothing he can say. What he has to do is come up with some policies that will improve the economy. The most basic concern that voters will have when they go to the polls next year is, are they better off than they were 4 years ago? Well, in the fall of 2008, during that presidential campaign, 43% of Americans said their finances were in good or excellent shape. After Lehman Brothers collapsed, that fell to 35% by the day that Barack Obama took office. It's down to 31% today. So right now, people are feeling that their own personal finances are in worse shape than they were on the day President Obama took office. That's a problem. 52% of Americans say that the economy is expected to be weaker in a year. If that comes true, the president will have a very difficult time winning re-election. And on the jobs front, 24% of workers, 1 out of 4 workers, say their firms are still laying people off. If those realities don't turn around, a speech won't make any difference. On the other hand, if the president can come up with some policies and get the economy moving in a more positive direction in by November 2012, his election prospects will dramatically improve.
Scott, if it were Perry versus Obama today, who would win?
Our latest polling shows Perry 44%, Obama 41%. Obviously, that's within the margin of error and very close. All the polling that we have with President Obama against any of the Republican candidates shows the president getting anywhere from 39 to 46% of the vote. Those numbers are not good for the president. You would have to say, against any Republican today or any of the leading Republicans today, the president will be an underdog for re-election, but nowhere near the automatic defeat that some Republicans are expecting.
All right, Scott Rasmussen of Rasmussen Reports, thanks so much for being here and for all of your insight.
Thank you. Have a great day.